PANAFEST 2025 will bring to life the theme in every sense, and through our shared experiences, we hope to continue influencing global perspective on justice, restitution, and African unity. As we launch today, we are also extending an open invitation to the global media, the diaspora, civil society, artists, scholars, traditional leaders, and especially our youth to participate, to contribute, and to amplify this theme. The power of the media, particularly at a time like this, cannot be overstated. You are the bridge between this message and the world beyond our borders. In alignment with Ghana's broader national reset agenda, PANAFEST 2025 will also highlight the role of culture, heritage, tourism as a catalyst for national transformation. We are strategically positioning Ghana not just as a tourist destination, but as a cultural and intellectual powerhouse. A country where identity is honored, heritage is preserved, and the future is imagined with purpose. Let this media launch be the ignition of a Pan-African fire, a fire of remembrance, justice, artistry, and of healing. Let us use PANAFEST 2025 as a platform to boldly speak the truth that must be heard and to reclaim the narratives that have been distorted for far too long. I thank you once again for your presence, your partnership, and your passion for this journey. May the spirits of our ancestors guide this journey of justice and renewal. Thank you very much.
I mentioned anti-hope because we cannot talk about PANAFEST without talking about anti-hope. She scripted the idea, the proposal that Ghana should host this festival. The idea was that it was time for us to bring together people of African descent, to celebrate, to bring together the family that was torn apart during the slave trade. A family that had been separated by historical injustices and inaccuracies. So this paper, to celebrate PANAFEST, was meant not for herself, for the nation, for the continent, and for the Pan-African. I think it's important for us to remember. And I'm saying so because sometimes we take this for granted. We met PANAFEST along the line, but we do not even know the history behind it. Now let me say one thing again. When Emancipation Day came, how did Emancipation Day come to Ghana? Emancipation Day, historically, was 1st of August 1834, when the governor of those days, the colony, declared slaves, and therefore the people of Africa, at that time, free. But historically, we know that in the Caribbean, they were celebrating a festival called Columbus Day. It was the youth of the Caribbean, particularly those in Trinidad and Tobago, who stood up through their historical society to say, let's change the name Columbus Day to Emancipation. Why? Because we had all learned in school that Columbus discovered all of us. See, there were no human beings on the coast. Even the so-called New World was supposed to have been discovered by Columbus. So it's important for us to remember that the youth of Trinidad and Tobago demanded that the name, the holiday, be changed from Columbus Day to Emancipation Day. When our president, former president, Derek Rawlings visited Trinidad and Tobago in 1998 as guest of honor, and their their Emancipation Day, they requested that he also presents the idea to the people of Ghana for us to have an Emancipation Day. So the Deputy Minister at the time, Already Confirmed, was the one that traveled with him, and he was posted straight to Cape Coast after the visit. I happened to be the regional minister, and instructed us that Jerry Rawlings says we should organize emancipation. This is important to remember because sometimes we just take things for granted. And I know people even in the Ministry of Tourism who have no idea where this came from. They're just celebrating because they will hire a bus, sit in it, and go around the country. It's important for us to know the significance of what we do. And therefore, when we're talking about reparative justice, we should not also take it for granted. Because we're talking about separation. I'm going back to it because when the unfortunate things happened during the transatlantic slave trade, what happened? The trauma that also left us, we had trauma on this continent, in this country. People in the North, Upper West. Can you imagine people living in their own homes, in communal families, and then some merchants come and drag the best of them away. They don't know where they are going. They are taken through several parts from the Upper West to Urbina, through Asimanso, and all that. And then the next moment they are taken away. You know the trauma that goes to the families. If we ever go back, let's forget about those who were making money, but the trauma of those who were left behind. Now people are gone, and then we go and visit a place called the Door of No Return. As if saying, forget about them, they are not coming again. See, these are serious matters that we should be thinking about. And until I know that until PANAFEST, people of Cape Coast were not even visiting the Cape Coast Castle. I know this for a fact because I went to school in Cape Coast. But the point is that we are doing all these remembrances, and we are adding on some more, and we are not taking the trouble even to unify our narration. Because anybody stands up anywhere and says, oh, let's start it from here. When if West Sutherland was doing all these, you know the kind of African Americans that passed through her home? One of the most significant poems she wrote was Still I Stand. You know her, Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou mentioned if West Sutherland. There's another scholar who in the 1990s, before he died, Black American scholar John Henry Clark, who also passed through the Sutherland, and he mentioned her significantly in his books. And he is one of the teachers that are opening the eyes of Africans and people of African descent. I'm saying all this because we need to know what we are doing here. It's not just a matter of passing through. But most important, the songs sung by the ladies and gentlemen here, did we really listen to the lyrics? Yeah. Or we just, I'm saying this because we are talking about artistic activism. What we sing is more important than the money we put in our pocket. The influence that Bob Marley has made in the world was through his songs. Get up, stand up. It's activism. Redemption song is activism. What do we sing? It's important. And anybody wanting to come and sing, even at PANAFEST, wants to be paid. I'm not saying it's wrong to get paid for your creative thinking, but if we look at those who sacrificed their lives for us to get to where we are, they were not asking for money. It was a cause. the cost is redemption. PANAFEST was set up by individuals, as I said, was created by Antigua. She didn't charge Ghana for anything. I think at this time we should be paying her royalties. But the point is that she created something and she got people to accept the idea. First, Jerry Rawlings had to accept the idea. He did. And he has the Ministry of, that time it was the Ministry of Culture, and Commission on Culture, and so on. So Akunu Dake was drafted from there to be seconded to the Secretariat. But most important, government put its weight behind it. If there are some festivals existing on the continent of Africa right now, like the film festival in Burkina, it's because the government is firmly behind it. Why? It's because it's a brand for the country. And all over the world, everybody knows about the film festival. Why can't we do the same thing? At some point in this country, government decided to withdraw support. But we have not had that kind of support. When we traveled to New York to bring Steve Wonder, and he was charging $10,000 for his equipment alone. We had to fall on government, and government paid it because the significance of bringing Steve Wonder here, to be followed by hundreds of people to come and to participate in PANAFEST. What I'm saying, therefore, I know the minister has already bought into the idea. I know GTA has bought into the idea, but let's make PANAFEST the brand that will not just be celebrated in the streets of Cape Coast, but that will have implications for the youth of Mamprusi and all the various markets where people were taken from. Having said that, on behalf of the Pan-African Heritage Museum, I'd like to say that our story is an extension of the PANAFEST story. I was privileged to be chairman of PANAFEST for 10 years, and I think that we can expand the vision of PANAFEST by providing a 15-acre space where we will tell the story of Africa, not from slavery, but from the riches of our civilization, from Egypt, through the invasion by the Greeks, through the invasion by the Romans, through the invasion by Arabs, to the present day. The struggles that our people have gone through. When we said goodbye at the door of no return, we, for some reason, were also denied any knowledge of what was happening to the people who were taken out of here. Never in the history of this country did we learn anything, and still there's a battle I'm having quietly with the Minister of Education, that we should have African history as a compulsory subject. We do not know ourselves, but our past in history, by looking back, it was British history, European history, North American history. If I put the map of Africa here and challenge any of the youth here to point to where Congo is, there'll be a problem in this. It shows how badly we have been educated. The miseducation that we have had since slave trade has continued, and we are not learning about ourselves. So we come and stand here and sing about the Sibisa, and guys sang Heaven Knows Where We Are Going. It's a beautiful song, but it's not heaven that should know. We should know where we are going. We should know where we are going and work towards it. We should be committed to what we are saying. We need a bigger PANAFEST. We need a bigger understanding of what this freedom we are talking about is coming from, to be able to now feel in ourselves that we are a free people. Otherwise, we'll be singing this song for the opportunity.
The feeling of disconnect, that message came through what Auntie Esi said and what Honorable Yanka said. It is a troubling thing, really, that disconnect between your generation and the ones after mine. That disconnection is really troubling. As a member of the Reparation Committee of ECOWAS, the PRO of the ministry wrote something about it, so I shared it on my social media page. And the confused and uninitiated young people came to ask me on my page why I'm celebrating and championing something that's some old things, as they called it. If our children don't understand why we're doing this, then it means that after us, nobody will be doing it. So there needs to be a re-engagement. The conversation has to go with the children. They must understand that it is a part of them. It's like somebody has taken your one arm away or taken one leg away. That's what we're talking about. And we cannot be too afraid of what they will say up to us and not talk about it. Otherwise, I say, you cannot go and fetch water with a basket. You see, when you take the container to the riverside, you must come home with something. The way that disconnects the void that it has created, we stand the risk of not coming back home with nothing. And when Antesi and Honorable Yanka cannot sit in front with us anymore, well, we stand here, there'll be nobody sitting to listen. That is the problem. That you think that when you remain in this sector, all you're looking for is your daily bread. That is part of the problem. We don't do all the things we do because we must earn a living from it. Some of it are spiritual. Some are because we must honor the forebears, those on whose shoulders we stand. So there's a deeper conversation that must be had. The understanding in Trinidad and Tobago is deeper than I find in our country. I've been to the emancipation in Trinidad and Tobago for 6 years, not as a government official, as a private individual. I participated in emancipation in the Trinidad and Tobago for 6 years continuous. And the understanding that they have, I don't find that connection here. How did they get to that point that we are not at? You should see the reverential nights they do. They pour libation and they like the Nigerian Ogun libation pouring. But try that here. It's paganism. It's still considered heathenism. It's still considered all kinds of things. It is with a profound sense of pride and purpose that I warmly welcome you to the media launch of the 17th edition of one of Ghana's greatest cultural legacies to the world, the Pan-African Festival of Arts and Culture, PANAFEST. This year's event, once again held in strategic synergy with our Emancipation Day commemoration, affirms Ghana's role as a beacon of cultural pride and Pan-African unity. As we gather here today, let us remind ourselves that PANAFEST is far more than a festival. It is a spiritual, cultural, and intellectual movement, a platform that repositions Ghana as a homeland for people of African descent seeking reconnection, healing, and a shared sense of purpose and dignity. This year's celebration carries even deeper significance. Against the backdrop of global racial tensions, renewed calls for reparative justice, and the growing reclamation of African identity, Ghana stands resolute in championing a new African narrative through the Black Star experience. It is therefore fitting that the theme for PANAFEST and Emancipation Day 2025 is "Let us speak of reparative justice, Pan-African artistic activism." And activism can be done on different levels with different people at different times. It must just be continuous. It shouldn't be an event. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2025 edition of PANAFEST is not just the continuation of a cherished tradition. It is the reawakening of a global cultural mission. Since its inception in 1992, PANAFEST has created a unique space for artistic expression, historical reflection, and diaspora connection. It reminds us of the transformative power of culture in shaping minds, forging solidarity, and healing ancestral wounds. The program outlined for this year's celebration is about a 2-week-long celebration running from the 18th of July to the 1st, but I see that there's additions now. So we'll pay attention to the media and hear the other programs that are on there. These activities will go across key heritage sites including Cape Coast, Elmina, Asen Manso, and I dare say, you cannot leave out Kata and Danu for too long. Not because I come from there, but that's okay. But truly because wherever there's a fault, the story connected there. And again, in Danu is a community called Hajanao, where there's still a slave market, and Professor Wazi, who is one of the archaeologists at the University of Ghana, has done a fantastic job getting support from some communities and building modern things really to house the things that were found when they did the excavations. So we must include that in the story. A holistic story will be more lasting and engage more people in our own country. So I mentioned also Accra, because there again we have castles, and a pilgrimage to the northern part of Ghana. It features a blend of commemorative events, cultural performances, academia, symposia, and healing rituals. Other key highlights are the wreath laying, and you've just heard all of that. When the launch of PANAFEST is paired with Emancipation Day celebration or week's celebration, it brings to the fore Ghana's bold celebration of the abolition of slavery and the triumph of Black resilience. These two flagship events amplify a unified message to the world that Africa's story is not one of victimhood, but of a story of victory, but defined by its scars, not defined by its scars, but by its strength and survival. As a ministry responsible for tourism, culture and creative arts, we consider PANAFEST and Emancipation as foundational pillars of what we now proudly call the Year of Return and Beyond the Return, and any other name you may have. Today, we are proud to bring all of that home under the flagship program known as the Black Star Experience. The Black Star Experience is the government of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama's integrated year-round framework designed to position Ghana as the ultimate destination for heritage tourism, cultural pilgrimage, and diaspora investment. It is an immersive journey that binds Ghana's rich past to a bold and prosperous future where the echoes of the slave dungeons meets the drumbeats of freedom, where the artistry of kata weaving elevated by digital innovation, and where ancestral memory becomes the cornerstone of generational wealth and cultural pride. The combined celebration of PANAFEST and Emancipation has evolved into more than a symbolic commemoration. It is an engine for national development that drives socio-economic growth in tangible ways such as tourism revenue and local economies. Each year, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the influx of diaspora, international visitors, injects significant foreign exchange into the economy. Hotels, restaurants, transport operators, artisans, and tour guides all benefit from the vibrant tourism activities these events generate. According to records from the GTA, in 2022, there were positive indicators of recovery with an increase in both average tourist expenditure to $2,743 and sector receipts of $2.7 billion. Despite this progress, these figures remain below the pre-pandemic levels. Surveys spanning from 2019 to 2022 forecast that in 2023, the average tourist expenditure would rise to $3,746.65. Translated to a projected revenue of $3.8 billion, a significant increase. But it is not only about the increase. As we said before, it is also about connecting us to the rest of Africa. Africa's children are Africa's children. This PANAFEST that we are, and emancipation also creates jobs, from event planning to stage production, costume design, film, music, and heritage site management. Thousands of jobs, especially for young people and women, are created through the festival's ecosystem. And distinguished ladies and gentlemen, just in this room, from watching the films and the things that have been shown to us, the spoken word, the drummers, the dancers, need I say more? Cultural enterprise development, PANAFEST and emancipation fuel demand for locally made textiles, crafts, fashion, and culinary products, stimulating growth in the informal and creative sectors. Infrastructure investment. These events catalyze improvements in transport, accommodation, and heritage infrastructure in towns like Cape Coast, Elmina, Asenmanso, and other historic corridors. Such developments outlast the festival season and improve overall living standards and visitor experiences. Diaspora investment. The emotional power of these events often translates into financial and intellectual capital. Diasporans who reconnect during these celebrations return to invest in real estate, agriculture, health, education, and the creative industries. National branding and soft power. PANAFEST and emancipation enhance Ghana's international reputation as a stable, culturally rich, and welcoming destination. They position our nation as a leader in the global African renaissance and a soft power advantage that attracts partnerships, funding, and influence. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the joint celebration of PANAFEST and emancipation are deeply embedded in the soul of the Black Star experience. Together, they serve as an emotional entry point for diasporans seeking to reconnect with the land of their ancestors, provides platforms for cultural diplomacy, enabling collaborations among global artists, thinkers, creatives, and artists. It creates spaces for healing and dialogue, confronting historical injustices while envisioning a redefined African identity, and ultimately provides the gateways to economic transformation. Leveraging cultural tourism to create jobs, empower the youth, and grow indigenous enterprise. It is rebirth. It is a moment to rise out of the ashes like the phoenix. As part of our forward-looking vision, we aim to institutionalize an all-year-round programming that builds momentum towards and extends beyond the main festival season. Deepen community ownership and engagement, especially among traditional leaders, young people, and creative industry stakeholders. It will strengthen infrastructure across key heritage. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the success of this vision cannot be realized without unwavering support of the media. Your presence here today is testament to your shared commitment to Ghana's cultural renaissance. We call on you not only to amplify the visibility of PANAFEST and Emancipation Day, but to help us tell the world that Ghana is not just a destination, it is a recall of all African children. As we launch the 17th edition of PANAFEST and Emancipation, let us recommit ourselves to unity, cultural pride, and collective healing. We do need as much healing as the diaspora. The disconnect is not only on our side, it's on both ends of the pole. We all need that healing. And until we recognize that something deep has happened to us, that healing will not occur. The lack of that healing, or the process even, is the reason why we choose to appreciate other people's cultures and not ours. It is the reason why we are happy to invest in other people's cultures and not ours. It is that thing that has taken away that pride that we should have. And until we heal, we will come here every year or every other year and make beautiful speeches, and the wound will still be there. So I challenge all of us. Let's read more, let's engage more, let's explore more, and let's share what we learn. And when those who know it teach us, let's be accommodative to learn so the future can be brighter than we have found it. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome our global African family with open arms and open hearts. In the immortal words of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, we face neither east nor west. We face forward, and forward we must go together with Africans on the continent and the ones in the diaspora, together, not individually. On this note, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I have the singular honor to declare the 2025 PANAFEST and Emancipation Celebration duly launched. I want to thank you all. May this year's celebration be our boldest, brightest, and most unifying opportunity. Akbana Misia. So, Jana Tuchina Nikata.